For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're off and running on a Monday evening. I am Tim Murray here from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, joined tonight by my ginger brother, Will the Thrill Hill. Mr. Hill, coming off of an eventful weekend. Busy day yesterday. How about them Winnipeg Jets? Never in doubt anyone who had them on the money line last night, or just an absolutely brutal beat if you had the dog in that one. But Mr. Hill, the Derby in the rear view, couple upsets over the weekend. How are we feeling on this Monday night?
Good, man. Yeah, like you said, exciting time of the year. A bunch of game sevens, NBA, NHL. The NBA ones weren't very good. The NHL ones were very exciting. The NHL, man, not my favorite sport. I just never been like a huge hockey guy, but man, that sport in the playoffs, especially when you get game seven overtime, never disappoints. You can cut the tension with a knife, as the saying goes. So more playoff games tonight. Baseball, it's a great time of year.
It really is. And the Derby, as I talked about on Sunday, shouts to so many folks on the network who were all over the Derby. We had Brittany Urton on Wednesday, as she likes sovereignty. Mike Samich, I know, on air was hitting the superfecta. So it was a good weekend for the ponies out there. Were we successful, Will? Did you put together a couple boxes out there that brought home some cash on the Derby?
No, and I had Samich on my podcast on Friday, and I somehow found a way to not win money. I mean, I didn't play it big, and I just threw a couple darts, but no. I mean, it's just you get overwhelmed. Like obviously, I respect Samich immensely, and then our buddy the Bear, Chris Felica, respect him. You start to gather these different opinions, get pulled in these different ways, and you find ways not to win. Did you win?
I did. I talked about it. I talked about it on the air on Sunday morning, where it was a little bit of a bad beat, just pure me being an idiot. I put 8, 18, and 21. So I'll give shouts to everybody who wasn't out there, right? So you talked to Chris Felica, Baeza. He really liked him. So once he got into the field, we had Ed DeRosa on the show. He also liked the 21 horse. I'm like, all right, I'll throw him in. Mentioned Brittany Urton, Mike Samich, Drew Dinsick, all were in on sovereignty. I had Drew on Saturday morning down from Churchill Downs. He said the slop might favor the 18, really helps out the 8 as well. So I threw them all in the box, and I was just talking to Mitch Moss as I was walking out. It's the old dusting off the horse racing app and trying to figure it out, and I put them in the exacta box instead of a trifecta box. So look, not going to cry over a winning, but could have been more. But you know, such is life. But was happy to have a couple extra bucks, because that was a good thing, because they gave it all back with the Cavaliers blowing game 1, and also I had the Avs multiple times to win that series. I had the Clippers prior to their series, so it was jubilation, Will, and then gambling set in, and I had all these futures bets just go to die over the weekend.
I will say, when you lose money on it, like I did, and again, not a lot, but I did lose money on it. It's one of the worst feelings. One of the dumbest things to lose money on. The draft also qualifies for that, where you bet something for a certain reason, you think you get into it, and it doesn't come home. And man, what the hell did I just lose? That's one thing. A game, you bet on whatever. The Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. Mahomes has a bad game. You say, what? Mahomes had a bad game. I was on the wrong side. I could live with it. Something about like horse racing, when it's not your sport, when it's not your info, or just something like the draft. Those just hurt extra more.
So coming up here in just a moment, the beauty of this show, right, Will, we got our eyes on all of these games. And the last time we were on the airwaves, you had the brilliant angle of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler unders in that Game 5 that we're able to cash. You hit a nice little 4-leg parlay. So, once again, no pressure. Just do it again, okay? So just hit another 4-legger here tonight. But right off the shoot, we're going to have tip here in just a moment. New York and Boston, the Knicks and the Celtics. Right now, looking at the line, we'll call it 8.5, but there are some 9s out there, including over my shoulder at Circa. Total sits at 213, 213.5. I've heard differing opinions, certainly on this total. I know our guy Zachary Cohen over at VSiN.com really likes the over in this one. We've seen a little bit of late over money come in. So anything you're looking at before this game tips off, either series-wise or tonight in Knicks and Celtics?
I don't see much of a path for the Knicks here. As much as I want to root for a good series, it's a tough matchup for the Knicks. I think they've lost 9 out of the last 10 to Boston. They got swept all 4 this year. Average margin of victory over 10 points per game for Boston. And it just makes sense that it's a bad matchup for the Knicks. They just have a lot of capable defenders to throw at Brunson. They have a lot of options offensively to attack Brunson, who's as brilliant as he is offensively. He's just not a very good defensive player. They've got guys that can bring Towns away from the basket defensively, maybe expose him a little bit. They do have home court. So the 9 seems a little expensive. If I wanted to back Boston, I'd probably just look at the Boston team total over 111.5, because they have averaged on there's overtime in one of these, but I think they've averaged about 125 against the Knicks. They scored really well against the Knicks. So again, this is playoffs. It's not regular season. And that's, small sample size. And there's an overtime mix in there. I get all of that, but I would, instead of laying the 9's just a lot. I would look towards a team total over. Do you have anything side total? Do you have any feel for this game, for the series? I think it's like Boston in 5.
Yeah.
I think Boston probably gets the first 2 at home, split 3 and 4, and then wraps it up in 5.
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. I did lay the, I think $1.25 is the current price out there for the series for the Boston Celtics. So I did lay a little Celtics minus 2.5. So obviously, for those new, if the Celtics win in 4 or 5, I win. If the Knicks win the series, or it goes 6 or 7, I would lose this bet. But took a series price on the Boston Celtics minus 2.5. I do think, I'm curious how this game starts. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to look from an in-game standpoint. Can we get a cheaper price on the Boston Celtics? So that's the beauty of our show, right, Will? We will keep our eyes glued on this game as it starts here in just a little bit. Celtics and Knicks. We got a hockey game to get to. You mentioned it last night. What a crazy finish it was. You got to feel for St. Louis Blues fans. I had first period under on Saturday night in the Avs game. That was an easy winner, and I went back to the well, and that was an easy loser. They scored 2 goals, on Hellebuck. Within 1 goal came, I think, a minute in, and then the second goal came around 6 or 7 minutes in. So ultimately, that was a loser for me. But tonight, we get the start of the Panthers and Maple Leafs north of the border, and this is pretty much a true coin toss right now based off of the point of the spread here. Total 5.5, juiced at most shops to the over. Interesting to note, Circa has it juiced to the under, and we'll call it minus 120 or so right now for the Leafs and the Florida Panthers. How about home ice so far in this series? I was texting with my guy Todd Furman just a little while ago, and he noted that home teams are 31-15 so far straight up, Will, in this postseason. And of course, we saw it over the weekend as Dallas wins Game 7. What a performance by Mikko Rantanen against his former team. And then we see it last night as the Jets win in double overtime. So home ice has been pretty advantageous. However, worth noting, Will, when you look at the 2 Eastern Conference series prices, the 2 teams that will start on the road, the 2 higher seeds, are both favorites, right? The Florida Panthers are the favorite here in this series, and the Carolina Hurricanes are the favorite against the Washington Capitals.
I think all 4 series, is that correct? All 4 series, the road team is the favorite?
I think, actually, yeah. I think you're... Let me double check that. But, yeah, I think you are. So we've got Carolina, Florida. Vegas is a slight favorite at most books, but we'll call it. I mean, there is a shop out there that has that as a pick'em, and then Dallas is a pretty decent-sized favorite against Winnipeg. So 3 out of 4, not too far off.
Yeah. Still very unusual. I mean, you would never see that rarely see it in the NBA. Golden State was the favorite without home court. Not a big hockey guy, but I get the sense Toronto's being undervalued a little bit here. So the plus money on Toronto does seem enticing. Is this anything you're interested in one way or another?
No,
by the way, those were some hellacious beats, full game for the Game 7 under. People that like to play those Game 7 unders, full game. Oh my goodness, that's might need a couple days off after those.
Yeah, that Dallas Colorado over with 2.7 seconds to go. That was as gross as it comes. It was 1-0 going into the third period, and the game goes over the total of 5. All right, before we hit our first break, let's get to our VSiN Primetime Game of the Night.
The lights are on and the stakes are high. It's the Primetime Game of the Night.
All right, Will, we've hit on 2 playoff games already, which were the Florida Panthers at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Spread right now, or total, the line -118 in favor of the road Florida Panthers. We hit on the Celtics and Knicks as that game about to get underway as well. Actually, just is underway. And then Denver and Oklahoma City. That is tonight. That's our primetime game of the night. Around 9:30 Eastern tip time as the 1 seed Oklahoma City takes on Denver. Talk about a brutal spot, Mr. Hill, for the Denver Nuggets. They are coming off of less than 3 days rest, a Game 7 win. And I saw this stat out there making its rounds. Teams coming off Game 7s with less than 3 days rest versus a team with more than 4 days rest in the playoffs. 4-19 straight up, 7-16 ATS. Can you lay the lumber here with Oklahoma City?
I think you could, and we hit that parlay last week, and the angle was if Golden State gets behind, and they were already behind at the time, they might punt. I don't know if Denver has the foresight to do that. They left their guys in a lot last week against the Clippers when they were behind in Game 6. But if you're Denver, obviously you go in with the idea, hey, we're going to win. It's 1-4. We can't just punt on a game. ... But if we're down 15 middle of the third quarter, I got to get Jokic off his feet. I can't have this guy playing 42 minutes a night every night, all these games in the playoffs. I got to sneak in a breather for him here. So keep that in mind from a live betting perspective. I would actually lay it with OKC. And again, OKC team total over, I think, is good. Denver has a lot of issues defensively, a lot of weak defenders. They can't hide all of them.
Just a reminder, smarter bets start here, last all year long with VSiN Pro. Check out our great special we've got over at vsin.com. Use the promo code PRO, 14 months for $199.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Underway in Game 1 of the Knicks and Celtics series, 7:46 to go in the first quarter, 8-7. The New York Knicks have the lead. Will Hill, Tim Murray, with you. It is VSiN Primetime. Coming up, bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Jonathan Davis, our hockey analyst. He will give us his thoughts on tonight, as well as all of the second-round series. So the Knicks and Celtics, we will keep our eyes on that. Let me ask you this. You've got a very juicy money line for Oklahoma City, obviously, very heavy, I should say, at -485. Would there come a point in time, Will, where you would think about maybe grabbing the Celtics? I don't know at what point it would be, but is there a palatable number that you would look to potentially lay on a Celtics in-game to Thunder money line option?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. It's funny because we didn't plan this or discuss it. I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah, I mean, if you can parlay them to get them to reasonable numbers, I would think that makes sense. I gotta get that game in front of me. 8-7, the final score I saw. What do we have an updated score on that?
11-11 right now. Jason Tatum just fouled shooting a 3. So yeah, off to a close start, so we will see how this ultimately plays out. But as many of you know who bet the NBA or follow it here on our show, you're not going to get a too big of a movement, especially with a spread like it was from a pre-flop standpoint yet. But 11-11 right now, Knicks and Celtics. Jason Tatum at the free throw line, and your current number in game 7.5 in favor of the Boston Celtics. Money line is 395, and I'm just going to keep the money line parlay just in this bet slip here. And I'm going to see, obviously I can't bet it, but many of our folks, you have DraftKings in Connecticut, many of our folks can bet DraftKings. So I'm just going to keep it here and see what the price we can get to where it's a little bit more palatable there with the Celtics and the Knicks. So right now, Celtics and the Thunder, right now your money line parlay between the Celtics in-game and Thunder would be minus 196. So that is where we sit for that one as it continues to change ever so quickly in the in-game number.
What's your target? What number are you looking for?
If we could get anywhere in minus 150, I'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't parlay that, and you can't parlay those two in Vegas?
No, I can. I like the DraftKings interface on my computer. It's just easier to keep it up here, just from a talking standpoint. No, I can. So. We will see. Yeah, if I could get to minus 150, what would be your target price? Would you want a little cheaper?
I think maybe slightly cheaper. But again, you don't want to. Sometimes perfect can be the enemy of good. Where you might be regretting not banking the 150. Oh, I want 130 or 140. You always want a better price. You can at some point you just got to pull the trigger. Did you have any feel on either one of these games without like just a money line parlay? Like if I gave you one bet to me, you got to bet one of these games side total between the four options here tonight. What would you go with?
I think I'd have to lay it with the Thunder. I talked about the trend, and once again, trends could be your friends until they're your enemies, right? So we'll see how it ultimately plays out. But I just think from a situational standpoint, you think about Denver on Saturday night needing that Game 7, they get the win, and now they travel to Oklahoma City. Very quick turnaround against a team that obviously has been well rested. Now, worth noting, the team with plenty of rest yesterday did not fare all that well as the Indiana Pacers were able to get that victory. I want to get some thoughts on Pacers and Cavaliers as the show goes on. But I think, if anything, right now, looking at the market, I think the 10 that is out there would have to be the way that I would potentially go. And once again, game starts at 6:30 our time, 9:30 Eastern. So maybe Denver, gets a little momentum, a little juice out of the gates, and you're able to get a cheap price. But I think for me, if I had to lay anything or make a bet today, I think it would be Oklahoma City minus 10, or maybe, as you pointed out with the Celtics, right? Maybe a team total over, something like that. Right now, looking at the team total, looks like 119.5, I believe, is where we're sitting at for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So maybe that could be a potential angle as well. But I think laying it with Oklahoma City would probably be the way that I would ultimately go. But I'm going to continue to keep eyes on this money line parlay, because even though obviously a 8-point favorite and the Cavaliers didn't get home yesterday, seeing what we're seeing with Boston, the situation for Oklahoma City, I find it hard to believe that one of these two favorites is getting knocked off tonight.
So I ended up betting OKC in 6 at plus 475 just because I have enough respect for Jokic. And I actually think the Clippers had good matchups for him. Zubats wore him out. Zubats had the size and strength to give him a hard time. Even Ben Simmons, I thought at times, did a good job. I don't know who guards him. Obviously, Holmgren's got the height, but in terms of like weight, strength, girth, that's going to be a complete mismatch. Just in terms of Jokic going to overpower him, get him into foul trouble. So I think Jokic plus 475. I think he can carry them to 1, maybe 2 games. I have a hard time seeing an upset in terms of winning the series. I have a hard time seeing a Game 7. I wouldn't be shocked if OKC Denver's got nothing left and OKC just runs them out 4 times. That wouldn't shock me either. But I thought with the number, the matchup, the respect I have for Jokic, I thought plus 475 at OKC in 6 was enough for me to pull the trigger. What are you looking at in terms of the series big picture?
So I want to circle back to that. So obviously you're going with kind of the more dart throw, more juicy return on your investment. And by the way, I think Humans had Denver in 7 in his.
Me too.
So good hits by you guys, because that's what was that number?
Plus 375. I think he might have gotten plus 380 or 385. It was good.
Yeah, that's a great cash by you guys, and really didn't have to sweat it, right? Saturday night after the first quarter, it was an absolute disaster by the Los Angeles Clippers. But I'm looking at the series spreads. So if you think Denver's going to be feisty, and obviously you're betting on a bigger number, but Denver plus 2.5 games right now is plus money, plus 125. So if you think Denver's got a chance to win a couple of these games with their experience, you can get some plus money on them in that series price.
I prefer the plus 475 because I don't think Denver winning the series is realistic. Seems like a strong word, but I don't see Denver winning the series. Winning a game 7 would be tough, or are they really going to push to 7? I think even winning 2 would be a stretch. So not that you eliminate possibilities, I just think it's more likely that Denver can win 1, maybe 2, and I'll take the plus 475 as opposed to, if it goes 6, obviously you win the plus 2.5 bets. But the reason the payout shorter is the possibility of Denver winning or Denver dragging this to 7, and I'm not sure that's possible. If you really like Denver that much and you're that strong on their chances as Boston hits a 3, they're up 17-11. If you're that strong on Denver's chances and you really love them plus the 2.5 games, wouldn't you just take a little on the series price at that point?
So here's the thing about Denver is, look, I bet against them with the Clippers, took plus money on the series price. Obviously, that was ultimately a loser. And, Denver certainly had their moments. Game 5, Jamal Murray was fantastic. Russell Westbrook, I thought he had some really impressive moments throughout that series. And then you've got the best player in the world on your side. But I look at this particular series, and I don't know how I'm going to attack it. I guess I got to figure it out here in the next 2 hours or so. By the way, New York hanging around, a couple of threes here by the Knicks to make it 17 all, and I think the Celtics are going to take the lead here. But the Knicks not going anywhere so far, shooting the ball well. Miles McBride off the bench will already a couple threes for the New York Knicks. So a strong start from long range for the Knicks as they are 4 of 7 from 3, and they have a 20-19 lead. Jason Tatum, by the way, 13 first-quarter points already for the Boston Celtics. So this has been a very strong start for Jason Tatum. And once again, as we're keeping an eye on that money line parlay, it's down to minus 159 right now, Will, with the Celtics trailing 20-19 to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, and just a second ago, it was Boston by 6. But when you knock threes down in 3 straight trips and you rattle off 9 points in a row, that changes things in a hurry. So a nice response here, nice start here for the Knicks, who lead by 1 here with about 4 minutes to go in the quarter.
Down to minus 270 on the money line are the Boston Celtics. A 1-point lead currently for the New York Knicks in the first quarter. 20-19, strong start from outside by the Knicks. They're 4 of 8. OG Anunoby has a couple of threes. Miles McBride a couple of threes as well. So the Knicks have a 1-point lead, 3.5 minutes to go. It does look like there's a media timeout. So at the media timeout, your money line parlay, if you were so inclined, would be Celtics in game to Thunder, is now down to minus 172. Hey folks, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all the betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet and use the promo code PRIME, PRIME. Deposit $25. Edge Boost will match the deposit. Once again, edgeboost.bet. Celtics with a 21-20 lead. They have regained the lead. They are back to a 8.5-point in-game favorite. Total sits at 213.5. Will, coming up top of the hour, we get game 1 of the Leafs and the Panthers. We'll break that down for you next with Jonathan Davis right here on VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
A busy Monday night. It is VSiN Primetime. I'm Tim Murray here at the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Vegas, joined by Will Hill. You can follow him on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill. Quick update before we get to our guest on the Progressive Guest line. The Celtics have a 21-20 lead. We've seen the under come down to 209.5. That thing closed around 213.5. And the money line parlay, Will, that we keep monitoring currently, Celtics in game to the Thunder, minus 182 right now at DraftKings. So we will keep our eyes on that and see if there is a time to pull the trigger. And we're going to get a bucket here from the New York Knicks. So the number now down to minus 172. Hey, the New York Islanders, Will, are going to get the first pick in the NHL draft. I know you were on pins and needles on the old NHL lottery. A week from tonight, by the way, the NBA lottery. That will be fascinating because of Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, and it's always just such an absurd process that these ping pong balls determine so much for these teams, but I really do enjoy it.
All right, let's get to our progressive guest line. As mentioned, we do have a game tonight. The Florida Panthers taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've seen a little bit of line move in that, so let's break down the game with our hockey analyst. You could read his work over at VSiN.com right now. It is Jonathan Davis. He joins us courtesy of our progressive guest line. JD, always appreciate you jumping on, man. Here we go, Maple Leafs and Panthers. We were talking about it briefly. It's interesting to note from a series standpoint, home teams have been crushing it through the first round just from a straight-up standpoint. But when you look ahead to the second round, Carolina, Florida, and Dallas, all favorites despite not having home ice advantage. So let's start with Florida and Toronto tonight. You do have a play. You wrote it up over at VSiN.com on a side. So what are you expecting tonight north of the border with Florida and Toronto?
Yeah, look, I do like the Panthers in this series. I think, look, this is a big step up for the Toronto Maple Leafs after beating the Ottawa Senators in round one. They're going to have to raise their compete level because Florida, they will just extract a pound of flesh from you in every game. They did that to Tampa in disposing them of 5 games. There were some players around the league that have indicated they really felt that Tampa was intimidated. So this is the time for Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who have had their struggles over the years in the playoffs, to really take it to another level in this series. I still think Florida's the better team. I played them tonight on the money line. But, Tim, what I will say, one of the things that I've noticed in the playoffs is that puck lines have been cashing. So that's the minus 1.5 goals. And they've been cashing for the favorite and also the reverse puck line, meaning play the underdog at minus 1.5. So if you're so inclined to play both the favorite and the dog at minus 1.5, as long as we get someone winning by 2, you're going to come away with some plus money in this one tonight.
Jonathan, you look at tomorrow, Hurricanes and Capitals. Capitals at home getting plus money, total 5.5. Capitals plus money, too good to be true?
I don't think so. I think you've got two teams that play a similar style. Like Washington's got the speed to match Carolina. If the game becomes a dogfight where you need 1 goal, well, then that's where you want Washington. I mean, they've got more players that can find the back of the net, led by obviously Alexander Ovechkin. They've got the better goalie in Logan Thompson. I don't care who Carolina starts. If it's Pyotr Kochetkov, who's likely to get the start, or Freddie Anderson, who can't play a playoff without getting hurt. The better goalie's on Washington's side. So I think the value lies with Washington in the game tomorrow night. And hey, I could see taking Washington for the series as well. I still think we're looking at a series that goes 6 or 7 games. So you could also play it that way. And if you just want to make a series play for the series to go 6 and 7, you'll come away with a profit as long as we get to 6.
Jonathan Davis helping us break down game tonight. Once again, Florida and Toronto. Puck drop north of the border at the top of the hour. Tomorrow we get 2 games, Carolina, Washington, Edmonton, Vegas, and then Dallas and Winnipeg on Wednesday to start that series up. You could read all his content over at vsin.com. I did want to just circle back real quickly to tonight because one thing that you've been cashing quite a bit is the props that you've been throwing out there. It's more of a small unit play, right? I think you wrote them up, maybe like a 1/10 of a unit on some anytime goals. But who are a couple of guys that you're targeting from a prop angle tonight with the Panthers and Maple Leafs?
Yeah, well, one Brad Marchand just to get an assist. You can get that at plus money. Brad Marchand's got 29 career points in the playoffs against the Maple Leafs. That's the 6th most of any player in NHL history, and he only needs 3 to become 4th all-time. I like Carter Verhaeghe, originally drafted by Toronto. He had 3 goals, including a game winner against Toronto the last time that they met in the playoffs. Sam Bennett had 3 goals in round 1. He's always been a thorn in Toronto's side. Got to go with Mitch Marner. He is not only getting the baby bump. He and his wife celebrated the birth of a child over the weekend, but it is his birthday I know a lot of people like to play players to hit a home run on their birthday. I got the double bonus here with a baby and a birthday. Mitch Marner for an anytime goal tonight for Toronto. Oh, and Matthew Nyes. I've got Matthew Nyes 3 or more goals in this series at about plus 340. He is one guy that loves this type of hockey. He's built for the playoffs. He plays on the top line and the top power play. Matthew Nyes as well for an anytime goal.
Jonathan, for all of the people who haven't heard it, who do you like to get to the Cup final? Who do you like to actually win the whole thing?
Well, my original pick was actually Vegas and Toronto to get to the Cup final, but I was leaning more to Toronto because one, I thought the price was right. I think you were getting a great number on Toronto, and I didn't think they'd have to go through the Florida Panthers. I thought that Florida would get knocked out by Tampa, and I thought Toronto had a better chance against Tampa. So right now, I would go with Vegas. I still think that I think Washington's got the easier path to get there. Right now, I'm sticking with Vegas. One other thing, you guys were talking, before I came on about it was the NHL draft lottery tonight, and the Islanders won that draft lottery. Here's a note: since 2009, only 2 teams that do not currently have a player that they selected first or second overall have won the Cup. That's only 2 in 16 years. Vegas was one of them, but they did have Jack Eichel, who was second overall selected by Buffalo, and then St. Louis with now Golden Knight Alex Pietrangelo. Dallas and Winnipeg are the only 2 teams I believe that are still, and Vegas, but Dallas and Winnipeg are 2 teams that don't have a player that they selected first or second overall on their current roster. So, hey, if you want to play a little bit of history here, that's another reason why I will go with Vegas.
Once again, Jonathan Davis joining us here, courtesy of our Progressive guest line. So last night we see just an absolutely crazy finish. Honestly, both Game 7s were nuts, right? When you think back to the comeback from the Dallas Stars, a couple people tweeted me, Jonathan, I think there were 13, 14-1 money line prices out there on the Stars to win that game, to come back. They did so. Mikko Rantanen was absolutely on fire. And then Dallas gets Winnipeg, and for the majority of the night, they probably thought they were going to have a home game there against the St. Louis Blues, and instead they have to go north of the border. So I guess 2-part question, what do you expect in this series? And secondly, with Dallas getting the return of a lot of their firepower here offensively, and who knows what we're going to get from Hellebuck, does it make sense that the Dallas Stars are such a favorite over the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, I think it does. And also, I think you have to look at the fact that we don't know the status of Mark Scheifele, the Jets' #1 center, who is their career leading goal scorer in the playoffs. And we don't know the status of defenseman Josh Morrissey, who went down in the first period. I've heard that it could be a lengthy injury for Morrissey. On the Dallas side, they're expected to get their #1 defenseman, Miro Heiskanen, back, who missed the entire first round, along with Jason Robertson, who led the team in goals, who also didn't play in the first round. So the Stars are getting healthy. The Jets have got their players in the MASH unit. The way I would approach Game 1 is I like the Dallas team total over 2.5 in game #1. I think that's the way I'll approach it. Look, Connor Hellebuck, he exercised the demons. He got his team through round 1, but he still gave up 3 goals or more in 6 of the 7 games in that series. He was pulled in all 3 road games. I still like Dallas to win the series. I think Dallas wins this series in 5 or in 6. That's the way I would approach if you want to make a series play. Now, Dallas, as good as they are in Game 7s, guys, 9-0 under Pete DeBoer. I think they're 0-8 in game #1.
Yeah, that 9-0 stat is pretty wild, and it felt like for most of the night when the Avs especially go up 2-0 there early in the third period, they're like, all right, well, finally he'll be handed his first loss. Not the case as Dallas comes back. They get that win, and we talked about it briefly to start the show. Anyone who had under in that one, might want to take a long shower after that loser. JD, always appreciate it, man. Best of luck, and obviously we'll be calling on you all throughout this round and throughout the playoffs.
Anytime. Have a great rest of your night, guys.
There he is, at West Coast.
Thanks, JD.
HKY, Jonathan Davis. Before we hit a break here, Will, let's update the folks. End of the first quarter, Celtics 26-25 lead. That money line parlay, $1.82 if you want to lay it with the Celtics to the Thunder. More on Celtics Knicks as well as Nuggets Thunder. We'll do that on the other side. It is VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We keep it rolling here on a pretty busy Monday night, a rainy Monday night. I was just asking Will about the weather in his neck of the woods to steal a little Al Roker there. And raining by you, raining by me here in Vegas. So we've seen a bunch of games in some rain delays. I know the Nationals in a rain delay, but we got a couple of games going on. We're going to get some thoughts on the baseball side of things here, Will, in just a moment. Knicks right now with a 31, actually it's now 31 all between the Knicks and Celtics. That money line parlay may be getting palatable down to minus 172. But, you know, you were mentioning this during the break, which is the New York Knicks have missed a couple of opportunities here from a free throw standpoint. They're just 3 of 8 from the free throw line. Cam Payne and Mitchell Robinson have combined 1 for 6 from the line. But they've had a couple of threes, and the Celtics aren't really scorching the nets, Will, and this game is still tied.
Yeah, always a bad sign when you see that kind of disparity in terms of the shooting percentages, and you're not getting that same, not translating to the scoreboard. By the way, where does neck of the woods? Where does that come from?
Al Roker. Al Roker.
I know, but why? What's the literal?
I have no idea. There's so many sayings out there, Will, that I use. I have no idea where they come from or how they were created, if they even make sense. But I just use them.
Okay. We can look either listen or probably chime
Google will let us know it all, right? I mean, yes. Tweet us at not the Will Hill, and you can tweet me at one Tim Murray. We're still waiting for Will to give us the 4-leg parlay that hit at 11-1 like he did last time on these airwaves. So no pressure once again. Let's just get that going here. As Jalen Brunson, I believe, was just fouled on a 3. Maybe this is the time as Brunson heads to the free throw line to potentially look at our parlay here. So we'll see as Brunson, I don't know if they're going to, he's at the line now. So this should make it a 3-point Knicks lead. So we'll see if this does get the price down a little bit here. But Jalen Brunson, the best Knick, right? That's what I was told, according to some out there.
No recency bias either.
Patrick Ewing, by the way, in attendance there. Man, Jalen Brunson out here missing free throws. Wow. There's something up with the New York Knicks and these free throws. Jalen Brunson, he does make the next 2, but he misses the first of 3 free throws there at TD Garden tonight. So Knicks and Celtics, but the Celtics are going to respond. So 33 all right now is the score. 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Still to come tonight, Denver and Oklahoma City. From what we've seen from the Western Conference, Will, Warriors and T-Wolves will get underway tomorrow night. Is this becoming the Oklahoma City Invitational in the West? Where are you on the Western Conference? Could you talk yourself into a Denver or a Minnesota or a Golden State to win the Western Conference?
I'd be surprised if it's not OKC coming out. I know they have to prove it, and I know that's just how it goes, especially in the NBA for whatever reason. When you haven't done it, you just don't get that benefit of doubt. I mean, this time last year, there was a lot of doubt with Boston, and you can actually make the case, you know what? There should still be doubt with Boston because I know they won, but they had a very injury-riddled path. But I think OKC is really good. They're deep. I understand the questions about their experience, and do you have a second scorer if SGA either gets shut down or foul trouble, or teams can just take them away or whatever. I think it's OKC. I mean, it's hard to lay a price here in terms of like OKC versus the field, but I'm curious, do you feel differently? And if I guess I'll ask it this way, OKC or the field, and do you think OKC plays a 7th game along the way? Because I do think there is maybe that much of a gap between them and their next competitor. I actually think the Clippers, if they could have advanced with all of their perimeter defenders as the Celtics hit a 3 here, 36-33 Celtics. I think the Clippers wing defenders could have given them a hard time, but I think they're going to be clear here in the West. What do you agree or disagree with in terms of that?
Yeah, so right now the price is minus 220 in favor of the Thunder. So you certainly are looking for a way to attack them, but to your point, I'm not ready to crown them champs, and they're the betting favorite to win the championship at plus 130. By the way, the Cavaliers, after yesterday's loss, we should talk about this, and we're going to talk to Jonathan Peterlin later on in the show because there's some serious injury concerns. I know Kenny Atkinson, who was given Coach of the Year earlier tonight, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter all listed as questionable for Game 2. Yeah. So certainly some concerns there. So a reason why you've seen a big shift in the odds market and the Celtics out to a minus 160 favorite to win the East. But back to your question, I do think the Thunder win. And do they see a Game 7 along the way? I'll say no. I think, Minnesota and Golden State, as we have that series price at minus 175, which seems pretty rich for Minnesota, but I think this Golden State team is pretty flawed. Look, they were, able to get it done. I was kicking myself last night, Will, thinking about, I had all day on Sunday on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line talking about the game. I didn't play anything in that Warriors game. And then you watch it and you're like, you've got an inexperienced Houston team feeling the pressure of a Game 7 at home, and you've got Steph Curry on the other side. Now, did we know that Buddy Hield was going to go, vintage Game 6 Clay? No, but that was a hell of a performance from Buddy Hield. But, Minnesota, Golden State. So to answer your question, I'll say yes, they win the West. No, they don't see a Game 7. And then I'll flip it to you. Minnesota and Golden State, minus 175 is the price right now for Minnesota. This is a team that made it to the finals, conference finals a year ago. Maybe we got a little too overzealous on the crowning of Anthony Edwards as the next Michael Jordan. But his series against the Lakers, seeing Rudy Gobert's Game 5 performance, Dante DiVincenzo's kind of a nice glue piece that you can throw in. As you note, I'm going to bring up a ginger, of course. But what do you make of this T-Wolves Warriors? Can you talk yourself into Golden State?
I can't quite get there. I don't want to be dismissive of Golden State. And by the way, yesterday, I said it before the game, it was a perfect example of it's just one of those games where you're going to feel dumb either way. It seemed like the Rockets had real advantages, youth, athleticism, rebounding, every other day, nature of the series. It just felt like Golden State was worn down. And if you watch Game 6, and it's a very dangerous thing to overreact to the previous game in these series, it's almost like you'd be better off. Same thing happens in the NFL. You'd be better off if you didn't watch or know what happened in the previous game, because we all overreact. I'm guilty of it at times too. It was to me clear that the Rockets had some advantages, and plus they were home. On the other hand, I always preface this with saying, look, I think Houston's going to win, but you really want to bet against Curry and Butler in a Game 7. So that was one where you're going to feel dumb either way. I'm leaning towards Minnesota in 7, which I think is a little bit of a cop-out where it's like, I can't really choose, so I'll just go with the home team winning the 7th game. So maybe Golden State plus a game and a half. Maybe you just go for the big payout, and Minnesota in exactly 7, I think plays plus 350, plus 370 in that range. Of course, shop around. But I'm not as dismissive as everyone else seems to be of Golden State. But like you, I think they've got some real flaws. I think this roster has some real limitations, and I can't quite get to picking them, even though I'm afraid to dismiss them.
Well, let me ask you about this, because I mentioned the trends, right? I mentioned a trend regarding Denver and Oklahoma City with the limited rest for Denver, Oklahoma City having the extended rest, and historically how beneficial that's been for the team with rest. That stat, 7 and 16 ATS are teams coming off a Game 7 with less than 3 days rest versus a team with more than 4 days rest. What do you make of the zigzag through the first round? Through the first round, the zigzag theory, right? You lose Game 1, you respond Game 2. 23-11-1 against the spread, 67.6%. And you saw it last night. By the way, breaking news, Shohei Ohtani just went yard. He is good. 117 miles per hour off his bat, Will.
Alcantara's been awful this year. I know the talk before the year is, Marlins, when should they trade him?
Good.
He could be the difference maker for a contender. He's been awful. Sometimes you need an extra year after the Tommy John to get your command straight, but he's just not been good this year at all. And he has given up a quick 5 here to the Dodgers, who will just pound him every time out. What were we talking about? Warriors, T-Wolves arrest, the zigzag. Yeah, I don't know. Who are you picking in the series? It sounds like you like Minnesota.
I do like Minnesota, but I think there's going to be really good spots in this series. And I don't know. You said Game 7 for Minnesota. Maybe this is the ultimate cop-out. Yeah, I like Minnesota, but there's going to be spots to back Golden State. But look, I think you're going to get a couple of moments where Golden State's going to get the victory. But, yeah, game one, we can discuss it on the other side of the break, but that'll be a spot where maybe it is, is it Minnesota with a little extended rest at home? I'm sure that place is going to be on fire as they are a 7-point favorite. How about the point spreads for these game ones? 8.5 tonight for Boston, New York. 10.5 for Oklahoma City. Tomorrow, Cleveland. Do we get the zigzag tomorrow with the Cleveland Cavaliers? And then and Golden State, Minnesota is sitting as a 7-point favorite. Speaking of point spread, where we stand right now in Boston, 40-38. Celtics with the lead. Point spread sits at 8.5. Hey, just a reminder, make sure to check out firstbet.com if you want to get in on the action. That's the number one stbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today. Firstbet.com.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.